Hey guys, welcome to the channel. And in this episode, we're going to talk about a water jerry can hack. Let's get straight into it.
Salisbury Plain meets Wales.
Yeah, exactly. Water is one of those commodities that we take for granted, especially when we find ourselves, in either in a wild camping situation or somewhere remote, like if for us Europeans, we find ourselves in the Moroccan deserts or Sahara. There is not a lot around us. So a great way of getting water is obviously there's so many different methods of carrying water with you, from bottled water to jerry cans to water tanks. Water tanks can be mountable loads of different places, and water containers in the sort of the rear footwells. There's so many different options out there, some ingenious ideas and products out there. However, if you're looking for something simple, something cost effective, then you've come to the right place. And I'm going to share with you what I've done, which is going to be a stepping stone to something maybe a bit more permanent. We don't know, so we're kind of trialing it at the moment. So how we used to carry water, like many of us out there, just simple water bottles. So these are easily accessible, supermarkets. You can buy these in bulk. The water's clean. What's not to love about obviously the water from supermarkets? The only thing it brings with it is you've got to tie these down when you start emptying that 6-pack or whatever it is. You've got to kind of secure the bottles and they kind of move around the vehicle. The other thing, it brings us obviously a form of litter, so which we need to dispose of. So that's something else to think about. So it brings me on to the jerry can. Now let's take a closer look. Righty, the trusty jerry can. So we're going to have a closer look at all the little bits and pieces that we've used here. Very cost effective, like I mentioned before. So this cost me about $30, brand new. Got myself some food grade hose. I got myself 2 meters. That was probably about £10 for that. Probably between 5 and 8 for actually the hose fitting. So just your normal speed fit, and then you've got your little valve. So we've got that. And then we've got our brass fittings. So you have a closer look at the brass fittings. There's a 3/8 female brass elbow that we've got there to hose tail. And then on the internal side, we've got basically a male 3/8 fitting that goes through the cap. So what you want to do is drill a hole just big enough to fit the male thread through the cap. And basically, if you're screwing it through the cap, that's perfect. Add a little bit of PTFT E-tape to the other side, and then screw on your female elbow on there. And what I've done is just added a little sort of O-ring just to keep things nice and watertight. And bear in mind, it stood up. If it stood up, then you have not really got much to worry about unless you overfill it. What you want to do, bear in mind, is with any plastic sort of jerry cans or water holders, they tend to have a build-up of sort of algae or bacteria. So you want to combat that with some chlorine tablets. Put that in there, treat your water, and make sure you flush your tanks out every so often. Because as you can imagine, if this gets hot, especially if it's a very dark color and it's either sitting inside your vehicle or on your roof, it's going to start spawning bacteria and algae, and that's the last thing you want to be doing or drinking, obviously when you're pretty thirsty. So very, very simple, very, very effective. All that you do now is once you've got your attachment, make sure that's the length of the jerry can, so it can take the maximum amount of water out of your jerry can. That just pops in there like that. And one of the reasons why I've utilized this particular jerry can is that it's got a sort of another cap on the other side, which helps with the airflow. So if that is basically closed down and you start opening your valve, it will start creating a vacuum on the inside, and it will only flow so much, and then it won't flow anymore. As soon as you release that pressure with this little cap here, it releases the water, which helps with the flow of the water. So keep that in mind. So basically this just screws on. Okay, so once it's screwed on, find your best location where you want to keep it in the vehicle. Obviously from my particular case here, we sit next to the fridge, just slide that in position. But the good thing about this, I know it's probably going to be a question, if it's going to slide in there, is going to be hard to access. How are you going to fill up the jerry can, all that kind of stuff. Now this is one of the reasons why we've used this hose fitting here. So if you're at home, great way, just connect your hose to this, fill up your jerry can. What you want to do is just open up your air bleed valve on the other side and just stay there until it starts filling up, and then when it hits the top you obviously hear the pressure and you just close that cap, and then obviously you shut your valve off. What you've done is basically semi-pressurized the system to the obviously your pressure of your garden hose, which is normally about 1.5 to 2 bars. So we'll give you a little bit of a head start, so you don't have to kind of siphon the water out immediately, which is great. So you can also use that, so when you come back from a trip you can take the jerry can out and you can flush the water out using the same method, but as long as you're using your chlorine tablets and things like that, you'll generally 99% of the time be okay. But it's always good practice when you come back from a trip, flush it all out, let it air dry, and then you can refill it and reuse it again on your next trip. So very good way of carrying water. And there we go, the simple jerry can hack. Very cost effective, very easy to do, and it obviously helps your situation of carrying water. Hopefully this has helped you and inspired you. Again, the parts are readily available online, all over the place, so just have a look for that. And it's a great way of getting in a good habit of not only flushing your water jerry can out, chlorinating your water, making sure and keep it on top of your water, especially if you're looking at a more permanent solution, because you're going to be doing those things in practice more often. So have a think about that. This could be that stepping stone that you're looking for. Hopefully this has helped you, and if you like the video, please hit that thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And if you're new here, hopefully I've earned your subscription, and we'll definitely see you in the next one.